we'll go Conquest, but since I kinda figured I like to do it in a bit more precise way, in order to do so, I have been thinking and I will just basically throw a bloody coin. Simple? Yes, but workable. So basically, I'm going to throw two coins. One is between the, well, you know, the ones without favor. The other is going to be the very much red Koros, because, you know, can't be bothered to call them by their name, those bloody idiots. The disfavored entity Charlotte. Charlotte? Was it a Charlotte? Well, now I'm confused. I agree with myself, but, oh well, not the first time. Let's say between the Koros and the disfavored, and the second one will be between actually following them or, you know, being a bit of a neutral cunt, because that's technically what I should be. Well, but, and, you know, would be boring. Let us do that. So, Conquest again. Now with the right character. That's what that means. I will actually have to read.
The world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's
We have gone through this already.
In the early
I know. So we're gonna go into the first year of Conquest. And then I need my little soul. During Conquest, you will decide to practice actions. So, oh, come on, you be a bit faster here, be a bit faster. I would like to actually get into the game so that I can start reading a lot, because for some bloody reason, now I'm not much of a fan of standing up and reading text to people, and for some bloody reason I decide to play RPGs, which have a lot of text. That technically speaking, to make it somewhat nice, you should probably read. Why am I doing that to myself? Oh well, it doesn't matter. Well, that's once again the Bastard City, aptly named. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Bastard City is basically a very important center of commerce for the so-called, what was it, Tiers, which is the area we're in. And, well, of course, from, you know, the Empire's point of view, it's basically nothing. Some backwater nonsense city, but that's gonna be the first city we have to take. Now, as per yesterday, we know we have to make choices, and our choices will always be between the disfavored and discarded Koros, which is a problem. Now comes my little coin throw. Where have I put you? Where did I put you? So, let's do it easy. Heads will be the disfavored, and discarded Koros will be on the other side. Little coin, little coin. I said heads as a favorite, then that's the Scarlet Koros. Well, that is sad. So at least for this time, we'll be Scarlet Koros, but I will make a second coin throw. Decide our further course. And, oh well, the Scarlet Koros won. That's impressive, actually. Oh well. I guess we're gonna be Scarlet Koros all the way then. Because, you know, when I flip a coin and the coin says, yeah, I'm gonna be Scarlet Koros now, then I'm gonna be Scarlet Koros now. Why is that interesting? Because I can see myself pressing the New Game Plus button in the near future, when I finish this, and playing this again from the other side. So basically it's not the end of. But for the moment, we're gonna be Scarlet Koros, apparently. So let's see if we can find something interesting here. So, well, we wanna do this, yada yada yada. This was the one where we infiltrate before the battle. We can do this with the raiding parties. Then we have the Gates of Judgment. Took the battle to the Gates of Judgment, and you can either go, you rushed with the chaotic mass of the Skull Chorus, flanked the bastard army and drove them to flee. Do we want to be part of a raiding party? Well, I guess we're gonna start like this then. Well, the Scarlet Chorus, eh? That's gonna be interesting. The howling mobs of the Scarlet Chorus found easy pickings among the villages and frontier towns. Rallying an experienced gang under your control, you flooded the unprotected settlements with a deluge of bloodthirsty soldiers, rounding up the innocent for merciless rites of conscription. Yay, the young and infirm alike received makeshift weapons, and examples were made of all who challenged your forces. Also with fresh recruits, your army gathered strength for the invasion to come. As you can already tell from this alone, playing pretty much on the side of the Scarlet Chorus is gonna be Bam. In the bloody, very bloody way. That's what happens when you let things up to fate. And fate didn't even give me the nice way out of actually playing neutral, but no. Scarlet Cross is gonna be all the way. Now then, what would then profit the Scarlet Chorus? Because if I'm on their side, I'm gonna do this. Fucking good, believe you me. Inside Agent. Mission captured by your disfavored allies. They are not my allies. Through the head of Kairos' armies. So I have the option of going... Well, that's not an option, so we came to arrangements with a well-connected smuggler. Behind the city walls. We were better operate if dead soldiers, and this worked quite a subtle touch. So okay, we can either get a few of our agents inside, or... Here there's a meeting of the voices of Nerat. Yeah, kind of. The choice was cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The majors were never seen again. Voices of Nerat. Known in his official capacity as the Archon of Secrets, the Voices of Nerat is equal parts genius and madman. Rumors about that he can steal the minds of others, though few, if any, are alive to confirm as much. The subject of such interrogation are never heard from again. The Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. I kinda feel like I've sworn my name and my banner to a very, very strange person. Personage? Multiple persons? I don't even know what he's supposed to be. But he wears a funny hat, that much I do know. Oh, do we want fire mages under the control of D, or do we want to get smugglers in? I actually think this is going to do much more damage, but much more helpful for the Scarlet Chorus. There are few who could describe what horrors the Archon of Secrets visited upon his enemies during the conquest. Whether the elder mages knew little of the Archon's reputation, or met with him out of curiosity, yikes, didn't matter. Once the flap of the Archon stand closed, none of them were heard from again, save for a strangled cry of alarm, ended just as swiftly. Nevertheless, the School of Wild Wrath fell into disorder, and their remaining members were slain by the disfavored or conscripted into the Scarlet Chorus. We do a lot of damage. Betrayal of the Bastard City. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City, ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos forces. You wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the Bastard City? Yeah. You see, originally we had three choices. The disfavored lost in the first coin flip, and the neutral option lost in the second coin flip, so now we are full on Scarlet Chorus. Spreading the word of Kairos, you converted the poor and disaffected into a hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with the sleeper cells. Ah, Garen Palm. Seat the energy in your hands and release it onto a foe. The target ignites in flames, burning over time. That sounds magnificent. Very magnificent. Didn't take much to convince the Bastard Cities downtrodden that Kairos was the superior power. Hell, I mean, look out of your window and you see that huge army outside. Yeah, that's my buddies, you know. I probably don't want to fight that. You have them with weapons and knowledge of a signal you would raise when the time was right. As the armies appeared outside the walls, you ignited a spark that fanned their anger into a full-scale riot. The chaos they spread in Kairos' name weakened the city to such an extent that it was inevitable fall but a formality. I mean, you know, considering that the Scarlet Chorus is basically a mob, a giant army-sized mob, it is pretty efficient at what it's doing. I mean, to be fair, it's an oversimplification, but you kinda get what I'm trying to say. Well then, now, you know, I do like to make it like this. I make a decision, I stay with my decision. I like it. Now then, the Bastard City settled into a new state of normalcy. A very tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The army is divided into two fronts and migrated south. Excuse me. Junon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lycian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. You may choose only one of these locations. The pursuit of enemy the settlement of Lycian's Crossing is strategic war asset. Kairos sent the Forgebound, smith mages of expectation skill to establish a flow of weaponry. Turon the Adjudicator sent one of his Fate Binders, which is us truly, to ensure the enforcement of Kairos law, or Apex. The troops of the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of the valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the bastard tier fell. Second year of war, a joint force of disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the tier's central valley. I don't really care overly much, but Lycian's Crossing seems nice also because it's, you know, kinda central, I suppose. Where is that? Here? Yeah, okay. So that's Apex. Quite central, that's nice. And that's Lycian's Crossing. I mean, last time I chose Lycian's Crossing and I kinda liked it. Also, we kinda got that, what was it? That special singing lady. See? Something? I wanna say Sirius, but that sounds wrong. Let's do this again. She. 429. Tier 2 of Kairos Conquest. We gonna be city boy now again. How you can manage a city when you are on the Kairos Cross side is interesting. Years ago, Leafy the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old wars. The pact between the settlers and the mercenary company meant that caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane. The town thrived in modest insignificance. Great. Lycian's Crossing drew Kairos' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kairos' control, the northern smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore, arm that is favored with the finest weapon in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in a bloodless victory. Then dispatched you to travel alongside Kairos' forces to bring order to the region. And so we shall bring chaos. What do we have as options? The Cult of Cyrene. Cyrene was it, wasn't it? Iron must flow. Cyrene, Archon of Song, used the arcane chain to lure locals into joining Kairos' army. As a patroness of the Scarlet Chorus, her efforts were critical to the conscription of new recruits. When an enthralled disfavored soldier joined the guild, his company feared that the action was growing out of control and needed to be stopped. In Scarlet Chorus tradition, you sent the latest batch of cultists to the front lines of the Apex campaign. Those who survived were welcome to remaining Kairos military, and their performance would stand as testimony to Cyrene's effectiveness. The Scarlet Chorus agreed to transfer Cyrene's latest recruits to the front lines of the Apex campaign. Your resolution fit their traditional model of conscription, so they considered it a fair alternative. In the weeks to come, more of them returned to active duty than even Cyrene herself expected, likely owing to their obsessive devotion to the Archon and their enchanting music. Putting it very, very mildly, that means we have a bunch of guys who probably have a giant hard-on for that Cyrene, and you'd be surprised how motivating that can be to come back alive. Especially since, you know, life in that situation do tend to remind people of their lesser instincts. Let's just say. Nice, isn't it? So far, so good. We have a bunch of money boys now. A red anvil, Forgebound mage swore allegiance to the Scarlet Chorus, creating strife between the armies. Ancient threats, who protected the city from the attacks of arcane predators. Used most of the iron that came out from this, and it fell to them to send the situation protectors. Enjoyed a necessary reprieve. Aww. Kayla the secrets of iron. Be granted only to the smith mages. You ruled that the new recruits might be erased of all memory. Doesn't sound as fun. The Rancho Arcane Jam around the fortress. Mystical predators from the nearby old walls begin to raid Lycian's Crossing at all hours. Most of Kairos' armies reserved their strength for the front lines of the war, and yet the city required protection. You had to delegate the responsibility somewhere. Actually, it is a fair argument. They disfavored wanting all the weapons, and then they should also do the protection. It has nothing to do with our allegiance. Though the disfavored were averse to your ruling, they couldn't argue with the reasoning behind it. See? They rallied in the streets of Lycian's Crossing, patrolling on alert and shifts that lasted day and night in an impressive show of force. They managed to repel several attacks from the predators in districts that would have otherwise suffered great harm. Able to do some good, the disfavored still detested you for keeping them from the battle with their real enemy in the tears. Well, you can hate me, but you know I'm fucking right at what I'm doing. Who controlled the crossing? Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the Voices of Nerat injured a Forgebound Artisan, leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kairos' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. The disfavored and Scarlet Crows showed increasing tension and hostility toward each other. Tuno agreed at best that only one force controlled the crossing. Who controls the crossing? You granted control of Lycian's crossing to the Scarlet Crows. I mean, they already have their Archon of Song there, going like, yay, horny boys, come to me. Which works like a charm. I always wondered, you know, why do armies of the world don't use nice-looking women to recruit? That would work fucking well, wouldn't it? You would also have to lower the age to 16 or so. Would work bloody well. The Scarlet Chorus floated Lycian's crossing with over-eager and undisciplined recruits. The first few days of occupation settlers suffered under rampant theft, murder, rape, and arson, which is the usual. The following week, the horsemen who sowed chaos for personal gain were dead. Strung up by more disciplined half that took up the reins at the self-appointed bosses of Lycian's crossing. The Forge-born continued to mint iron weapons and armor, which Chaos merchants carted to the favored garrisons elsewhere in the tiers. Shipments were light or sometimes absent. The Scarlet Crows quartermaster claimed ignorance on the matter. Of course. Of course he would do that. None were any wiser. Problem is, I have 3 choices. I mean, technically speaking, I could play this game 3 times. One, like we do now, with Scarlet Chorus. Then we could play quite honestly and quite disciplined on the disfavored side. And then we could go for a more neutral one. We can go through every bloody choice here. It would be interesting. Well, we'll see. It's far for the future, because I do believe this game is rather long. Memory serves. Well, with the mercenaries expelled and Lycian's crossing under new leadership, Kairos' forces congratulated themselves and patted themselves on the backs and be like, well, greatly done. Never mind the knives everybody held in the other hand. Bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a productive flow of resources. Wink wink, happy implication. Over the course of the diversion, the army front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the realm of Azure, Stalwart, or the Venom Citadel. And we burned this last time, and I do like the idea because the crimson symbol of the curls kinda reminds me of fire, so we're gonna burn the Venom Citadel again. Because yes, I like being called Firebringer. Firestarter, was it? Yes, they called me a Firestarter, didn't they? I don't know why I find that so bloody funny, but I find that bloody funny. Mostly because, well, way quick when the red edition of Pokemon came out, I do like the Firestarter Pokemon. Whatever his name was. My naming memory is fucking horrible. Avilum Citadel. Avilum Citadel. And we can get a lot more information. Yeah, about that. It was an archive and library of massive scale. Its humans were known as the School of Ink and Quill. A circle of major dead centuries ago carved out their own mountainous refugee of lands unsettled by the other major realms. Legend said that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. Noise. The Overlord spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the Great Library Fortress and force scholars to yield to Kairos. Good. What do we have here? Song of Ensnarment. Syrian song ensnared some stealthy sages. Chain of Command. Peaceful surrender turned bloody. Kairos' army marched in orderly surrender. Blast of arcane energy struck the commanders dead. Jesus Christ. You ordered the favor to advance the shield wall, knowing that a handful of Kairos elite soldiers could hold off an attack until the Scarlet Crows retreated. You know this fate would despise you for any less of this kind of consequence. It was a small price to pay for saving lives. Yes, this sounds more fun. Syrian again. And I like Syrian, I don't know why. That bitch is pretty damn good at what she's doing. While enemy mages were crept beyond the citadel walls. After the forces surrounded up their arcane practitioners, the Ensfavored began executing their new captives. Well, great. Primitive Kusla with the Scarlet Chorus. Punished the favor for executing mages bound to the Scarlet Chorus, ordering that several disfavored soldiers be given to the Archer, I think, for some bodyguards. Which is only fair, because, you know, you can't just murder them. Wisdom of the sages and knowledge of the Venom Citadel were too important to the silence. They disfavored bulked at entering the Archon service, but your ruling left them with no recourse. Archon Syrian delighted in having new toys to play with, and promptly installed her personal guard. You spotted them in camp days later, following their new mistress with wide-eyed devotion. Which means she's pretty good at what she's doing. The Spy Master's agents, suspicious rules and sages surrendered. Right of command. Siren composed songs of strength and provoked bloody slaughter. Incited Skarner Cross recruits to fight their leaders. Bosses were killed and supplemented left and right. This favor demanded an end to the practice for the good of the conquest. He ruled that each Archon had the right to govern their armies according to their nature. The right of command bred chaos, but it also ensured that the strongest rise to lead. Of course. Your keen understanding of the ways. Yes. Pleased and surprised, this Scarlet Chorus detachment. Thank you for the ruling. The following evening, 2 gang bosses were murdered in their palace and replaced by stronger variants, who fought hard to defend their status. Though the camp grew quiet over time, the crows fought with twice the ferocity under new leadership, because everybody feared for their lives. Don't worry. The Edict of Fire, there it is again. Disgusted by her approbation of the Scarlet Chorus, disfavored forces withdrew from the field of battle. The small detachment now lacked the manpower to take the Vellum Citadel. Jonas had word that Kairos' patient had run thin. The Overlord would cast an Edict of Fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Velum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. But also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. Claiming to still spies within the Citadel, the Scarlet Chorus urged you to warn the mages of the Overlord's edict. Granting their request, you met with the enemy under a blue flag of peace and warned them of their doom, giving the Chorus spies and the enemy a chance to run. Confronted the mages with a warning, and hoped the message was received. The hour before sunset, numerous figures were spotted fleeing the Citadel. As the sun dipped under the horizon, it read the words of the edict. The earth shook. Red-orange light glowed in the foundation of the sprawling Citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from windows and between loose bricks, melting winding trenches in the surrounding land. Days later, the flames still raged on, the conflagration continually fed and renewed by the power of the edict. Nice, I have made a fire that is probably not gonna run out of for quite a while. Up. I'm awesome at destroying the environment apparently. The Edict of Fire. The armies of Kairos left the devastation of the Vellum Citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life, but the message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. It didn't have long to rest before Tuno called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart from the mountains. As you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors. Perhaps looters from Kairos' armies, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. Dum dum dum. Conquest complete. You have reached the end of Kairos' conquest. Do you want to continue or raise your progress and start over?